Hi, I'm Natasha Lomas for TechCrunch here at the 2013 New York Disrupt Hackathon. I'm here with Nick and with Jared, who have done an app called Learn to Drive. Clue is kind of in the name there. Do you want to first explain briefly what this is about?
Sure. So basically the idea is that when you're learning how to drive, there's going to be, you have to meet with an instructor and they teach you like step by step how to do it. But sometimes you don't have the instructor, you're with your parents and they're not great at it. So this app will actually be in the car and it will tell you the steps of certain maneuvers like K-turns or parallel parking as you're doing them so that you don't have to worry about it while you're in the car. Anything else?
That's pretty much it.
So who would be initiating the app? So presumably it's embedded in the dashboard in the car. So would your companion, would you say, okay, I want to do a parallel park now? How would you kind of trigger that bit in the app?
It could be either. If you're driving, you shouldn't be looking at the dashboard, but
right.
It's really two buttons to trigger a parallel park, a tutorial or whatever. One button to get into the tutorials and then one button for which one. So it's pretty simple, so really either one can do it depending on the situation.
And it's a voice-guided system, basically, which allows you not to have to look at the app. So,
correct.
And I mean, everyone knows parallel parking is pretty hard, so hopefully voice guiding would sort of, so what would be the kind of stages it would go through? Turn slightly to the left, or?
Well, actually, when you learn it in like driving school, there's like very specific things. It's basically pull up next to the car in front of you, turn the wheel, one rotation to the right, back up until you're at 45 degrees, turn the wheel one rotation to the left. So it'll step you through each step. And it's kind of, if you just do everything they say, you end up where you're supposed to be. There isn't actually that much skill to it in a way.
Right.
It's just kind of knowing the steps and remembering them.
So what, as well as parallel parking, what are the kind of different driving kind of maneuvers that you've got in your app then?
We have parallel parking, U-turn, K-turn, perpendicular parking.
And left turns.
I guess you don't really need too many maneuvers for emergency stop, really, so.
You wouldn't have time to click on it.
Right. So how did you come up with this idea for the, presumably you came up with this idea at the hackathon. Were you kicking some ideas around? How did you come up with Learn to Drive?
Well, we came to the hackathon really without an idea. So we went around looking at all the APIs and demos just to get an idea. And we were tossing a few things around with GM, but since we're all high school students and we all face the same problem, per se, of having to learn to drive, well, I haven't yet, but that's how we thought, oh, this should exist.
Right. And did you have a quick look around? Are there sort of people doing similar stuff?
Well, GM's their API is actually new. The car's I don't think it's even out yet, but I'm not 100% certain about that. So there isn't really anything out there for this yet. Their API, as we started working on it, they were kind of updating it to make it actually work as we worked, so. Yeah.
And how long did it take you? So were you working all night to get this fully up and running?
Yeah, we around this morning at like 8, we were putting the final touches on it, but mostly all night.
Wow.
Yeah, so like some members of our groups would like sleep for small bits while other people worked because we had 4 people, so.
4 people, so that's your full team. Are those guys in high school as well, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
And how many of you can actually drive?
2 of us, me and Kenny, can drive, and then Gemma, one of the others, is taking driver's ed now. And
yeah, 3 of us are seniors in high school, and then I'm a sophomore.
And is this your first hackathon?
it's mine.
And then it's my third.
So you're a vet.
Per se. TechCrunch last year, Hackathon in New York City, and then Penn Apps in January.
And with this app, do you think there are additional features you'd like to add that you didn't have time, perhaps, during the hackathon to finish up?
I think something that would be important is voice navigation, so you don't have to actually click the buttons.
Right.
We definitely didn't have time to do that.
But that's something that would obviously work well.
Yeah, we were also talking about trying to export the data into some kind of more useful format, so it's not just on your car. You could say, export to Excel and print it out and maybe use that as your record of I drove 50 hours when you go to get your license, which is a requirement, so.
Right, because your app has a lot of stats as well, so you allow the driver to analyze how they've been driving. So just quickly sort of explain what specific data that you capture and let people look at later.
So every time you open the app, it starts recording how long you're practicing for. So if you open the statistics page, you can see how many miles you've driven with the app open, of course, how many hours you've driven and how many hours at night. And from that data, it gives you a progress bar on how far you are until you get your license from the minimum required amount of hours. Then it also tells you how many times you click the tutorial, because we assumed every time you click the tutorial, it would be another time you practiced it.
Right. Do you see, could there be scope in kind of the app rating how well you're doing at parallel parks, how good your parallel park is, or is that sort of too kind of complex for this sort of first initial idea?
We couldn't do that in the way that actually how you do it, but the only way we could do this in the app as it is to determine how well you did it based on how many times you had to listen to the tutorial.
Right, so yeah, the data could help you in that instance, yeah. Give you a kind of score or something. Cool, so what's next for the app? Are you going to keep working on it, and where will you take it, sort of with GM perhaps?
We hope to get in the GM App Store once we have to figure out how to submit that.
Right.
And it could come out last summer, you said?
They had a bunch of stuff that was like coming out at different times, so we're not exactly sure.
Because their API is quite new, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So if you go in there soon, that would be you could be the first Learn to Drive app.
That would be awesome.
Awesome. Well, great. Thanks so much, guys. Thank you, Nick and Jared.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you.